Hello, everyone, and welcome to another ink art or ink stain reading, however you want to call it. Last time, I got so many positive feedback that I decided to repeat it again. So, like always, with these ink art type of readings, this is where there's no predetermined subject. This is where anything that your unconscious would like to project, so basically the message of your unconscious, and after we analyze the ink stains, the ink art, however you want to call it, we are going to clarify with a few tarot cards. So today we have three seashells to choose from. This is where it's not really about the seashell because all of these cards are blank. So this is just what basically triggers your intuitive senses the most. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to make your choice. And also, after the ink art is going to be done and I'm going to present it to you, you can pause at any time to have your own take on what you see in the image, because ultimately my interpretation is just a guidance. It is just a basic guideline. It is much more important what you see in the image, or how your unconscious communicates through that image. So again, I would like to encourage everyone to pause the screen when you see the image so you can reflect on it. Now, with this being said, I'm going to take these two away over here. And we are going to begin with the first seashell, this one. And also the seashell is quite symbolical because the sea is, of course, the unconscious. So you can see how it correlates. And you see this is blank. And like always, if you can clear your mind, if it is possible, try not to focus on any thought. Just keep a certain kind of silence while I dip the thread into the ink. And now I'm gonna put it on the paper, the blank sheet of paper, and we'll see what image comes out when it's done. So again, keep your mind clear if it's possible. And then we're gonna hold this down, press it down for a couple of seconds. I also take the ink away for now for your pile. And now let us see what we got. Wow, well, I was definitely not expecting something so clear, but on the other hand, it's really complex, like a geometrical form. So let me show it to you on both sides, of course. I'm not sure if this is very clear. There we go. So this is one side. You can pause, as I said earlier. And let me, of course, reverse it. This is the other side. So let's begin the interpretation. If you could allow me just a couple of seconds so I can tune into this. Well, for me personally, what this image, like this side, says to me is marigold. Now, marigold is a very special plant, not just because it has, very powerful healing qualities. People who are interested and have their research in plant medicine know about its disinfectant qualities, its regenerating qualities. It's really good for the skin. But on the other hand, a marigold is the type of plant which is linked to solar energy. When I say solar energy, not in the technological sense, but more about the power, the energy of the sun. So it is linked to a certain kind of um, abundance in warmth, abundance in light, so knowledge, clarity, and something in your life which you which you may have, maybe tumultuously is not the right word, but in abundance, let's say. So this to me says, what is it in your life? And when I say in your life, it doesn't have to be just external, within you, inside your being, even inside maybe your unconscious. You might have something in abundance, let's say. May it be an impulse, may it be some kind of talent, may it be some kind of creative thoughts, may it be the desire for a certain calling, may it be the energy of the child, for example, a certain kind of lightheartedness, humor, but it can also be something in your life, externally speaking, where you have either a great influence in, and that influence is a kind of prosperity. Why not? Because you have a abundant of connections in something, or it can be your work, it can be in any way, shape, and form. There is something in your life that you have plenty of, and maybe your unconscious is slowly trying to tell you that this is the moment, this is the time when you're stepping into the future, where you give it a purpose, where you give it a form of manifestation, where you basically use it. The other thing that I see in this image is a mouse. So basically two mice, because it's a mirror image. And you know, the mouse is a symbol of great resourcefulness. A mouse is a symbol of endurance and resilience, but not necessarily in the powerhouse kind of way, but rather the opposite way, keeping silent, keeping calm, staying hidden in the shadow, withdrawing, staying within yourself until certain hardship or certain hard times pass. So that is, on one hand, the symbol of survival. Maybe you've been in survival mode for quite some time now, and perhaps your being is trying to tell you through dreams or through certain states that, look, we are really out of survival now, because whatever was the main reason of survival mode, regardless of which area of your life, romantic, sensual, professional, lucrative, family life, your relation with the self, it doesn't really matter, but your being might be telling you that the survival is over now. We can manage. We don't have to have this intensity or this mentality, or life doesn't necessarily have to feel like surviving, you know, being so instinctual, being so careful, being so withdrawn. So maybe your unconscious is trying to tell the, you know, mouse inside of you that perhaps it is okay to come out, the danger is over. There could, at the moment of your choosing, a new chapter in your life may start. Another thing is, what I see in this image is ghost. So the ghost, in, I do sense that for you guys, might represent something from the past that never ever truly died. And maybe not in a bad sense, because, for example, if a trauma, or if a really haunting bad memory, or something that has happened and you cannot find forgiveness, etc., is doesn't want to die, well, that's the bad. That's where it's definitely not something positive. However, if it is a dream, if it is a desire, if it is a goal that once had to be in a way ghosted, because the world or your life or your being, something within your sphere was simply not, the time was not right. So you had to either ghost it, or you had to allow it to die, but this is where the feeling of it, the impulse of it, a certain kind of excitedness of your senses is it is almost like haunting you in the best possible way, where an idea or an old dream or something that once was very important for you in the past, it died, or it was, as I said, ghosted, put on the shelf to perhaps never even be looked at again. That is resurfacing. That is almost like alluring you, haunting you. You might, as a ghost, not see it yet. You might not understand, or even if it's about anticipating the future, you might not be able to basically guess, anticipate how it could play out in your life, because nothing indicates to that. But something is definitely doesn't want it. Something is haunting you, and something positive. Now, as I reverse the image, if I look at it from the other way around, I do see here, well, on first hand, like a sacred heart. You know, the heart which is burning and pierced usually by 3 daggers. So this is where you're after a really strong heartache or a very strong disillusionment, a strong disappointment, where the thing is finally you understand it through a different light, you understand why it had to happen, and you're no longer in, feeling sorry for yourself mode. You might, of course, still hurt, but you're no longer sorry for yourself because you have a profound understanding for that matter. So this is where your unconscious is telling you that whatever caused your heartache, and understand this more karmically, more spiritually speaking, not the actual necessarily the event, but the interpretation, the meaning of the event is turning to sacred passion. You're being prepared to do something intense and courageous and needing determination in your life. You're so a big move. So something is preparing you for that. Now, another element which I see here is a musical note. And the musical note tells me that your soul is singing. Now, understand this is not a literal, although when the soul is singing, many people actually sing. It's almost like an urge they cannot control, where they have to even physically tune into the soul's song. So if you are someone who is haunted by songs in the shower, and I'm, you know, on the toilet, I know this is ridiculous and funny, but actually some people connect to their higher selves when they're doing that, that's quite common. Or, in any way, shape, and form, when you simply cannot help it but burst into like a tune into a song, or your something in your soul is resonating because the song is the resonance. So this may be something that you can actually crystallize as a name. You might understand what I'm speaking about, or this can be simply just a state where you cannot explain, where you feel that you're lost in, is this the future, is this the past, where you just get lost. You know that you are not in the now, and not because of anything that you've done. You simply shift out of the now, and those are states when your soul is putting on a certain kind of tune. Now let us check the tarot part. So just a couple of cards of guidance or a message for everyone who's chosen the first drawing. Okay, we have the Lovers reversed. We have the Ace of Swords reversed and the Tower reversed. And the Four of Wands. Now this is really, really beautiful. The two of, sorry, The Lovers reversed. Well, this either represents a relationship, a marriage, or so, a close connection that terminated and led to a certain kind of heartbreak, or it represents a contract or a partnership, but not in the romantic sense, terminating a job, a career, a place where or a country where you live. And the Ace of Swords reversed, the cutting, the cord cutting. So you're after a period of emotional, let's say, winter, where it was really, really tough in so very many different ways. Maybe that is the survival mode, because you're still in that. How should I explain this? You're still living life or functioning as if this would be still playing on in your life. For example, the heartache or your mindset or, your inner resonance. But the Tower reverse is actually telling you that the crisis is over now. So you need to get out of that state, which is not very easy because when it terminated, the Ace of Swords reversed, it was almost like a shock, which sent you in a certain state. And you will need, or you do need, some time until your being finally adapts to the fact that it's no longer in your life. It it's no longer necessary to be in that certain kind of state or mentality or feeling. And the Four of Wands, this for many people represents a new place, a new location, where the vibe and everything is so, maybe a new house, where everything, energetically speaking, is so very different. Then that is gonna send you into that state of getting out of the disaster zone, if you know what I mean. While for others, something is gonna complete, and you might get, like a letter, a confirmation, an official document, or some kind of termination to a legal state that is gonna mark the ending, where that might be the gesture that your being needs to truly get out of that certain kind of survival mode. So thank you everyone who has chosen the first drawing thing, and I really, really hope that you enjoyed it and this was useful. And again, I'm wishing you a wonderful and blessed week. So hello everyone who has chosen this darker shell. As I said for the previous file, look at the paper, it is blank, so there's nothing on it yet. I'm gonna take the ink here, this is the ink. And if you can, before we begin, as I dip the thread into the ink, you could just clear your mind, don't focus on any intent, don't have any kind of question, just allow your unconscious to make its projection. And after the drawing is done, you can pause the screen at any time to focus on the image yourself, because in this reading it is much more important what you see than my guideline interpretation. So now, with this being said, let's just put the thread on there. Let's press it down for a little bit, and then let's allow your unconscious to make its projection. So it's pulled out. This is so interesting, so different than the previous pile. So I'm gonna show you the image. If you are guided, pause it. And of course, the other way around, because there is no certain fixed rule which side is the good one. Sorry about that, my microphone fell off. So let us begin. Now, the very first thing that comes to my mind is the plant iris, the flower iris. But perhaps Iris is, well, she was a messenger of the gods. So I do believe that that is the symbol and interpretation of the flower, where there is something that the universe perhaps wants to make you be aware of. Now, this might be something that has to do with the past, like a certain period, a certain phase in your life when you, for example, about a past career, a past relationship, a past situation like this in your life, like an adventure that you went on and you went through it, and but that cycle also ended now. And why is that important? Because there is something that you don't give yourself enough credit for. There is something that makes you look, see, remember the cycle, that adventure, that situation in a rather incorrect way. Because you might, for example, judge yourself with something that you've done or haven't done, or you may be looking at it from a perspective where your certain expectations are irrealistically sky high, or it might be a situation where you were very young and you simply ignore those factors. So there is something in the past that you went through that you really, really need to re-evaluate. Look at it with different mentality or with different worldview, not the worldview of that past person who you were, but the worldview of the present person, and rejudge it. Why? Because that, whatever that was, cycle or an adventure or uh, whatever it was, uh, says something about you, something about maybe a talent or your personal power. Actually, ignore talent, your personal power, which you don't trust in the present moment, and you should trust it because you will need it so very much. Now, another thing that I see, uh, another, how should I say, possible interpretation of this image, well, it represents a sailboat. So this to me represents that the tides, or better said, the winds of fate are already blowing. And this means that your boat, so to speak, symbolically, your journey on fate, on the seas of the oceans, the waters of fate, is going to pick up speed very soon. This is where you might not actually feel the acceleration, you just feel the wind, but it will be in a very short time when that boat of yours, the sailboat, will start picking up some speed. And this is very important because you will need to be in balance, because you are the driver, you are the steerer. So you need more control and more trust of yourself, because sometimes this is not where you can have a lot of time to think about something, analyze, process, and make up tactics. Sometimes you have to decide the course, the direction by sheer instinct. So you need to be able to trust yourself once more. It is very, very important, because if you have doubts, and but I'm not saying to be doubtless, I'm not saying to be like the worst possible expression of Leo, for example, where you just give yourself the empowerment, so to speak, for the sheer sake of it. This is where that's a must, and you're true to the ego, but not that type, but the type where everything in your life speaks to you about that you are not just able, but are actually one of those people who, let's say, has a very, very good way of navigation, instinctually or intuitively, call it however you want. So you need to tune into that part of yourself. But when I say tune in, not the modus operandi, because obviously that works, the trust that needs to, some impulses must not have the doubt. And I trust that you are someone who knows the difference between the good type of doubt and the silly doubt. Now, reversing it, what I see immediately here is two seahorses facing one another. Now, the seahorse is a really powerful symbol of the unconscious, because the seahorse lives, in the waters of the ocean, which in most esoteric, paths and practices does symbolize the unconscious. So the seahorse means that you are quite skilled, even innately, to dive deep within. Diving within yourself and existing even within yourself is something quite comfortable to you. I don't necessarily want to say that you're an introvert, but even if you're not, you do have phases like that, and you do have the sheer skills. And this also means you have a very strong emotional coefficient, so EQ, a very powerful emotional intelligence that helps you be able to feel others, understand others. And the seahorses in this case tell you that you do need to use exactly that, your empathic abilities, to understand the self. Because when you apply it to another person, well, that is so natural to you. It comes with so greater ease, and you just understand people. You are one of the most non-judgmental souls. However, when it comes to you, you kind of perceive that understanding as excuse. This is where I don't want to make excuses for myself. I cannot, for example, accept this and this and this, but you might ex you might um tolerate it in other people, but you don't tolerate it in yourself. That is a kind of imbalance and discrimination that you do for yourself. So this is where you do need to bring much more greater justice for the self in this way, where if you apply a certain kind of understanding and valid excuses to the situation of others, you simply cannot do the opposite for yourself. Maybe once or twice in certain cases, but the general rule must be that what is just for others, it is also just for yourself, or vice versa. This is where you cannot discriminate yourself in this, because that causes, let's say, what we very subjectively and falsely perceive as misfortune or bad luck or luck simply not being on your side. Because if you discriminate yourself, then you're just teaching the exterior world to do the same, and that's not very okay. And now let us choose a few tarot cards to see the situation more clearly, for certain kind of guidance to be able to enter here. So we have the Seven of Cups, we have the Six of Coins, we have the Two of Cups, And we have the Three of Cups reversed. Now, this to me is pretty simple and clear, the way the message came out. So the Seven of Cups is about a dream, an inner choice that we might have. And for you, it might be crystal clear, something in your life that wants to be completed, that needs to be completed. And when I say needs, it's because you owe it to yourself, not because it's like a Saturnian need, if you know what I mean. But you're able, the person who you are today, now listening to us, you're able to give that to yourself, to make your dream, your wish, or your desire, or whatever this is, come true. And the Two of Cups, this is where you need to place yourself in equality. Because I don't know, maybe there's a person in your life who you place before yourself, a parent or someone very, very important, a child, or this can be a lover, your husband, wife, or this can be someone who you are allocating, or you allocated all your attention and energy and priorities to. Now you need to place yourself on the scale, but make it fair for yourself. Basically, you need to be as kind to yourself as you were or are to that person. And this can also mean a situation, really, where replace person with a job, a passion, a company, a group, etc., etc., or maybe even divine work. So right now you have everything in your power to fulfill a dream, a desire, something of yours. And the Three of Cups reversed, this is where you no longer need anyone's intervention. This is between you and the self. So I hope this made sense, and I do hope that this was helpful. Thank you, Pile 2, for listening, and wishing you a magical week. Hello, everyone who has chosen the third and final shell. Now, as you can see, the paper is blank. And just for the previous piles, I'm gonna take the ink now. And while I'm doing this, if you can please silence and quiet your mental sphere. Don't have any intent, don't think about any specific question. Just allow your unconscious to project. So I'm gonna be dipping this thread into the ink while the projection takes place. And when you see the images, you can pause at any moment for you to have a chance to analyze it for yourself. Because what I'm saying is just a basic guideline. What you see and what you feel and interpret matters much, much more. Now I'm gonna place it on the paper. Press it down for a couple of seconds. And now let the projection be visible. Wow. In this session, all three of the drawings were so very, very different. So I'm gonna show it now. Remember, you can pause it at any moment. And of course, reversed as well. And now I will try to interpret what I possibly can. Now, the first thing I see is a river, but seen from, let's say, a map. Uh, like if you would be looking at a river or the course of a river through Google Maps or any other software or application like that, and that river has many, many, many branches. So when a river really branches out, if you know what I mean. And this to me says the river, of course, is symbolic of the course of life, your journey through world life, going with the flow, so to speak. So this river is not just suggestive of your active choices in life, but also where your soul is basically steering you, your soul path. And maybe very soon you're gonna come to a position where there is gonna be a lot of choices, a lot of contemplation of what to do next. Because this isn't where you have just one choice. You will need to basically extend, like a river branch, like river branching out in that way, where it's not just something singular, not just where you're at crossroads, it's A or B. This is where you need to choose a certain direction and extend there. So it's very complex. It's also almost like very multi-dimensional, if that makes sense. So your life is going to get a little bit more complicated, delicate with what you put out there, what you project out there. But this will also represent a massive milestone in your life, because what does it mean when a river branches? Usually it slows down. It's almost like the roots of a tree. So you are going to find either your community, the place where you like to live, your people, or your new career choice or your work or something meant for the long term. So this is where life is preparing you for that. If you have a certain kind of procrastination, but this is where it's almost like a life is in procrastination. You might be trying your hardest not to be in the state or fight against it, but it is almost like life comes and puts you back into that. Or a certain kind of, I don't necessarily want to say stagnation, but slow, that's when you're almost there to put your roots somewhere. The other thing is that I see a cyclops. Now, this is very relevant because the cyclops can represent our third eye, chakra wise, but the third eye, is our basically communication gateway with the divine intelligence and with other people's higher selves or unconscious even. So the third eye is like the keyboard to a computer, if not, you know? So this is where, without a doubt, it's telling me that your third eye is activating one way or another. You may be sensing a certain kind of anxiety, but that which is not really the classic one, but more like a spiritual anxiety where it's a bit serendipitous and it keeps you in a state of alertness. Like everything around you is synchronicity and stuff like that. And you might be wondering what's coming up. Well, maybe nothing in that sense is coming up. Maybe your third eye opened up and you're getting used to using it in a much more active way. But on the other hand, the third eye is also a representation of singularity. If you need something in your life that it's kind of hard to manifest or to attract or whatever, this is where get to the state of singularity. It That state almost feels like a powerful obsession, but one that isn't really. You're just getting into that state, into that feeling, into that vibe for a few minutes just when you do that exercise or whatever. But in those moments, you really need to operate as if whatever you're singularizing has no choice but to really come into existence, as if the fate of the universe would depend on that. But after, of course, you need to release as if nothing happened. You know what I mean? but you're getting some information, you're seeing something, you're perceiving stuff, and you might be wondering what's going on, why all of a sudden, but this is because you are opening up in ways that you've never ever experienced before. Now, the other thing, especially in this reverse position, first I see a daffodil or a bouquet, better said, of daffodils. So for some people, this does mean either that their femininity or symbolically spring is coming into their lives. Expect some favorable communication, some good news, or fresh and new energies, or maybe a connection, or simply just an energy, just a vibe, just a feeling entering your life where you will start to feel more and more and more lighter. This is where you're truly getting out of like a symbolic winter or the end of winter in your life. Maybe right now you're between the winter and spring, so to speak, and maybe this is telling you that expect more and more spring and less winter as you go along. Now, the other symbol that I see is cornucopia. Now, a cornucopia is the horn of a plenty where it is a symbol of infinite abundance. In you can see it depicted, especially in ancient art, so very many times, either with a goddess holding a horn and bountiful things fall out from that horn, like apples, fruits, flowers, etc. Prosperity, so to speak. And that horn never ever has an end, you know? It will always. So that's like a symbol of abundance. This is where something is going to flow in your life, but also, this is like a dual thing. Your soul will start to spring something to life. So, like a soul level spring, like a well activating, you will find, maybe your mojo, so to speak, or a hobby or something that turns your soul into a spring. And that will be mirrored by outer reality, where there is some kind of flow coming into your life of creativity or inspiration or potential business or something that will really, really interest you. And now let us choose a couple of tarot cards for extra explanation or for a guidance. So let us see here. Well, I'll accept these. Nine of Cups, Nine of Wands, Two of Wands. I'm gonna keep even these. Nine of Swords, Four of Wands, reverse Nine of Coins. Now, this combination kind of says one message, Nine of Cups, something, but this is something due to your, sorry, your soul's evolution and growth in this incarnation. So something within that might be material or not, physical or not, inner or outer, but something linked to your soul's growth in this incarnation has become mature, has become ripe, has become an energy which can be, in a way, gifted to you in its final version. Like, let me give you an example. Let's say that you're a student and you have to go through various, say, stages of study until you become a highly recognized professional yourself. You know what I mean? So there's high school, but there is uni, then there's master degree, and there's PhD, and certain roles simply require PhD. You cannot bypass that. Symbolically, in that sense, something ripe and matured in your life, and the universe wants to or wishes to hand it down to you. Understand this, of course, symbolically, whenever you feel ready. But the Nine of Wands, a part of your soul doesn't feel ready because there was a lot of hard work or hardship attached to it. Your mastery, you becoming a master of something, or an area of life ripening, or something within you ripening. So it was difficult. You very many times you had to stand your ground with no help or with no support. So you can see with the Nine of Swords, there are a lot of unpleasant memories here. But the Four of Wands reversed with the Nine of Coins, a moment will come when you will need to step up. Because, okay, the universe does allow you all of this to happen on your timing, but when time simply expires, then is the moment then you'll be presented a choice. And you know that that choice will require you owning your mastery, owning your power, and perhaps the truly difficult part will be a lifestyle change, either relocation or taking something that you already have and willingly upgrading it, but upgrade will mean starting something from scratch. So put this into context for yourself. So I'll leave it at this. Thank you everyone for listening. I really hope that this was useful and wishing you a blessed week. If you'd like to see more readings like these, just comment below and I'll be sure to include them in the following week's pick a card readings. Thank you everyone. Until next time, bye for now.